Hi, I'm Dave Warzone. You're watching PHTV4. This is Bookshelf, and on Bookshelf we look at a variety of books from a variety of categories. Today we're going to look at December releases from 2023 and a couple titles I snuck in. To take a look at these new publications coming out in December, we've got co-host guest Matt Matkowski with me, Head of Public Services at Palos Heights Library. Matt, thank you for being here.
Of course.
Thanks again for compiling that list, but before we get to your list, I had to sneak in some titles of my own. December's a little bit lighter month anyway.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But before we get to the December titles, these are two books I'm going to mention that in case you missed them. The first one came out in April of 2023, and that's Pathogenesis, A History of the World in 8 Plagues. I know this probably doesn't sound like, oh my God, I've got to pick up this book, but it actually is written for a regular person. It's not, for an exclusive group. It's written for everyone to understand. Very interesting perspective on world history based on the impact of plague and disease. And he begins with the Neolithic period. Incredibly fascinating. And you can take anything from the Roman Empire, from Neolithic Man, Roman Empire, to obviously, the bubonic plague, Black Death, and moving into, all the way through to the present, the impact disease has had on society's collapsing, reforming, power shifts. Great book, definitely recommend it. That one's by Jonathan Kennedy. A second book, which I also found incredibly interesting, came out in October of 2022. As a heads up, the book actually is kind of depressing in parts. It can be a hard read. This is Wild Nude World, the epic story of animals and people in North America. This is by Dan Flores. This book chronicles the epoch in which humans and animals have coexisted in the wild new world of North America, a place shaped by its own grand evolutionary forces and by momentous arrivals from Asia, Africa, and Europe, with portraits of iconic creatures such as mammoths and horses, wolves and bison. Flores is going to describe the evolution historical ecology of North America like never before. And he's going to mention a lot of other animals that people don't necessarily associate with North America and what's happened to them. It's an incredible story, and at the same time, there's some painful history going on here, and I'll just leave it at that. Another great book to take a look at. All right, so two very serious nonfiction titles. Let's move to something that might be a little bit more fun, a little bit more entertaining. These are December releases now, and our first category described by Cricket as a twisty, fast-paced thriller. Matt?
Yeah, this is The Other Mothers by Catherine Faulkner. Described as a fresh and deftly paced thriller about murder, class, and motherhood in an exclusive London community. When a young nanny is found dead in mysterious circumstances, new mom Tash is intrigued. She has been searching for a story to launch her career as a freelance journalist, but she has also been searching for something else, new friends to help her navigate motherhood.
Okay. Potentially fun, certainly lighter than the previous two books I mentioned.
Yes.
For somebody. All right, we're going to continue, I think, in a similar vein. Adele Parks, her book is described as a British psychological thriller. Matt, what have you got?
That's right. I love a British psychological thriller, and this one is called Two Dead Wives. Lost, missing, murdered? How do you find a woman who didn't exist? It's a case that has gripped the nation. A woman with a shocking secret is missing, presumed dead, and her 2 husbands are suspects in her murder. You can't presume anything when it comes to crimes of the heart. Until a body is found, this scandalous and sad case remains wide open.
Okay, so a lot of drama going on in this one, and again, and another murder mystery going on. I'm going to take us to the next category, which for me if I had a category label, I'd call it the guilty pleasure, because it sounds like something I'd like to read. This one's a historical mystery, embellished with plenty of Gothic ambience, and I love that environment, that atmosphere. This is described as an atmospheric Gothic mystery that beautifully brings the ancient Cornish countryside to life. After the Great War, American heiress Ruby Vaughan made a life for herself running a rare bookstore alongside her octogenarian employer and housemate in Exeter. She's always avoided dwelling on the past, even before the war, but it always has a way of finding her. When Ruby is forced to deliver a box of books to a folk healer living deep in the Cornish countryside, she is brought back to the one place she swore she'd never return. I don't know, it sounds like it might be a fun read. This is Jess Armstrong, Curse of Penrith Hall, and I don't know, atmospheric gothic mystery. I like the ambience element
It's
to
an
it.
interesting descriptor.
Yeah, this might be a fun read over the holidays.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look at another category here. We'll go into nonfiction here, and our categories: an American Revolution era biography.
Kind of a controversial title here. It's called God Save Benedict Arnold by Jack Kelly. Described as Benedict Arnold was a superb leader, a brilliant tactician, and a supremely courageous military officer. He was also imperfect, disloyal, and villainous. One of the most paradoxical characters in American history, and one of the most interesting. This book does not exonerate him for his treason. The stain on his character is permanent. But Kelly's insightful exploration of Arnold's career as a warrior shines a new light on this gutsy, fearless, and enigmatic figure. In the process, the book offers a fresh perspective on the reasons for Arnold's momentous change of heart.
Yeah, I read other reviews on it, and it sounds interesting because it gives more of his life story to provide a context for who he was as a person, and then ultimately when he, changes sides,
Yeah.
let's say. So definitely a book probably where, take a look at it. God Save Benedict Arnold by Jack Kelly. Our next category is in the psychological suspense thriller category. Matt, you got one more title for us here? What have you?
It's What Waits in the Woods by Terry Parlato. When Esme Foster left the Boston suburbs to become a professional ballerina, the future shimmered with promise. 11 years later, her career has been derailed by an injury, and Esme knows it's time to come back to Graybridge to help her brother care for their ailing father. But her return coincides with an unthinkable crime. Kara Cunningham, one of Esme's high school friends, is found dead in the woods behind the Foster's house.
Mystery ensues. Okay. So those are the books that we're going to highlight, but we do need to mention, again, a lot of other big-name authors have books coming out. It should be easy to find on the shelf. You've got Barbara Taylor Bradford coming out with a new book, The Wonder of It All. Robin Cook, another prolific author, Manner of Death. Victoria Thompson, City of Betrayal. The Fourth Rule by Jeff Lindsay, and Last Night by Luann Rice. So a lot of books in December. Not the biggest publishing month, usually earlier in the fall, but certainly some good selections to pick through.
That's right.
All right, man. Well, thank you for recommending the titles. A lot of good things for people to sort through here, and thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
I'm Dave Wurzel, and you've been watching Bookshelf, and this has been Bookshelf December 2023. You've been watching PHTV4. Thank you for watching, and good reading.